This video is brought to you by Titan Mattress. Wario, my dude, I love your car as much as the other guy, but someone your size can't be sleeping in the back seat all the time. You ruin your spine. Get a damn mattress, you silly idiot. I know you got the money to spare. And I know just the guy, Titan Mattress. They're a guy now. But Titan does specialize in making quality mattresses for big folks like me, and especially Wario. A good mattress that'll last you a long while is always worth the investment. Sleep's an important part of your life, and you shouldn't sleep on that. And with Titan, you don't gotta waste time going to a dedicated mattress store. You order these online and they're shipped to your house, all safe and sound in a secure box, and installing it is simple. It's the best part, really, because watching the mattresses expand is like looking at a magic trick. Just make sure you got a buddy to help you take it upstairs. It is a mattress at the end of the day. Titan Mattress has literally had my back for well over 2 years at this point. It is sincerely one of the most comfortable mattresses I've ever slept on. And that's important because I work from home, so I need a good night's sleep to be productive. And my Titan mattresses offer me superb comfortability and back support for myself and my partner. You know, my previous mattress just wasn't cutting it for me anymore. While some would say you should probably fix your posture, John, who sleeps like this, I'd say shut up, I'm trying to absorb the oxygen. I even got a Titan mattress from my parents. They needed a new mattress. Steve was happy to accept because he wasn't paying for it. But I was happy to do so because I do believe Titan makes some damn good mattresses. With Titan, you know you're getting quality and affordability. They're backed by master craftsmen who've been building mattresses for well over 30 years. They're thoroughly tested to ensure durability, and since they're designed, assembled, and shipped from their Arizona factory, they can use premium materials at a reasonable price to you, and if you live in the United States, you get free shipping. And in this economy, that's a godsend. Plus, if you're still on the fence about it, Titan does come with a 120-night sleep trial and limited lifetime warranty to give you peace of mind with your purchase. So visit titanmattress.com/SomeCallmeJohnny to get 30% off your order with code SomeCallmeJohnny. Once more, that's titanmattress.com/SomeCallmeJohnny to get 30% off your order with code SomeCallmeJohnny. You want to make it really easy for yourself, you can scan the QR code you see on the screen there to get started from your phone. Thanks to Titan for sponsoring this video, and thank you as always for helping support this channel. Now let's continue on with the show. Okay, that got a little weird at the end there. But we can head back to Wario Land proper now, and I mean it. We're finally getting back to the Wario Land series, and this time, it's on a home console. And we have Goodfield to thank for this endeavor, a name I'm sure plenty of you are already familiar with, considering this developer has worked with Nintendo on a couple of IPs at this point, including Kirby's Epic Yarn, Yoshi's Woolly World and Crafted World, and Princess Peach Showtime. And if you couldn't tell from that list of games, Goodfield is a studio that generally tends to aim towards a much younger audience, where you can argue their games are more about the cozy vibe and aesthetic, rather than having rich and engrossing gameplay, which I guess makes sense considering that some of their earliest days before directly being involved with Nintendo involved making educational games for the Nintendo DS. But then apparently all it took was Takahiro Harada, a longtime employee of Nintendo, to one day ask Goodfield, hey, would you guys like to make a new Wario Land game? And Goodfield was all over that shit. Thus, we have Wario Land Shake It for the Nintendo Wii, released in 2008. And I guess the beginning of Goodfield and Nintendo's healthy relationship, considering they still make games for the company today. And if you ask me, it's not a bad first impression. So around the late aughts, if you were to ask me if there was one Wario Land game I would consider playing more than any of them, assuming I could afford it, which I sure couldn't back then, unemployment, it would be Wario Land Shake It. And I'm not kidding when I say it was mainly because of the game's looks. Yeah, of course we're getting this out of the way right now. This game is just fucking gorgeous. The environments are so beautifully painted. Thematically, the game doesn't branch out beyond the usual. You know, there's a grass area, a mountain area, a jungle area, desert area, an ice level. I think there's like 2 casino levels, but fuck man, when the detail is this rich, you don't really care. Enemies big and small have a ton of charm, even if there aren't a whole bunch of them, and most of them sound like monkeys when you shake them, even the birds. To say nothing about Wario himself would be a tremendous crime. Wario has never looked so fluid, so tough, and so fat. Now, I have no doubt Wario's got plenty of muscle underneath all of that, but man, his ass sure did pack a few more pounds since his last game. He's almost pear-shaped. Now, I'm not judging, of course, my weight bounces around more than fucking jumping beans, and in Wario's case, it has been 7 years since the last Wario Land game. Slowing down and filling up is perfectly normal. At least he still has his sick-ass Cadillac. I was so happy to see this car maker return, though sadly it's only in the opening animation. Let me drive the car, damn it. You'll fucking make me drive this thing and fist the back of this dude's tailpipe repeatedly. You know damn well I could have done this with my car just fine. I'm talking primarily about the fisting part. Sorry, let's catch up on the story real quick. So here's another surprise. Captain Syrup Syrup is back. Jesus, that time she got launched to the moon at the end of Wario Land 2 really did a number on her, huh? But she's back and she's got eyes on this ancient globe for her next plunder. But then she finds out that the artifact houses a different dimension, the Shake dimension to be precise, where Queen Merelda and the Merfolks are being subjugated by the Shake King, who's after the realm's fabled treasure, the bottomless coin sack. It produces infinite coins. I can hear all the capitalists around the world shaking their Wiimotes at the very thought. But not wanting to get her hands dirty, Captain Syrup sends the globe to Wario in hopes of him heading into the Shake dimension and dealing with the Shake King himself. And though Wario originally wants nothing to do with the hunk of junk, he immediately changes his mind when he finds out about the bottomless coin sack. Think of how many steaks he can buy before dying of high cholesterol. Sadly, after the opening, Captain Syrup takes a back seat for the rest of the game, relegating herself as the shopkeep that sells you the maps needed to unlock additional worlds, as well as health upgrades and other miscellaneous stuff like FMVs and music for the sound test. I would have liked to see her properly return as a boss fight or something, especially after I sort of got blue-balled in Wario World. One of that game's major boss fights was a pirate captain, which you would think would be prime opportunity to bring her back, but they didn't, and why didn't they? But that's it for the story. Wario heads into the Shake dimension to fuck up the Shake King and his cronies and nab that bottomless coin sack for himself, with the liberation of Queen Merelda and the Merfolks being merely incidental. Queen Merelda doesn't even get any real screen time until the ending, and even then Wario yeets the fucking shit out of her to grab the real prize. It's honestly one of my favorite moments in Wario Land. Wario's one true love will always be money, which he will squander away by the next game because he hates commitments. No wait, fuck, he won't even get the chance because Captain Syrup takes the coins for herself and she darts off into another 20 plus years of obscurity like Kid Icarus. It's a simple story and the game itself is just as simple. Wario Land Shake It takes Wario back to basics. He's got his shoulder tackle back, he can pick up enemies and chuck them to the moon, or if you're feeling really spiteful, you can smack him with his rubber ball here, you piece of shit. And he's got the ground pound again, though I don't like how you can't pound through multiple blocks at once in this game. It always seems to reset after destroying just one, meaning you gotta keep pressing the D-pad down to break through several layers. I was looking back at my footage and it turns out you can ground pound through multiple things as long as you got the proper height for it first, but the game won't always give you this sort of clearance, meaning during those times you do have to tap the D-pad individually, and it's kind of awkward. At least I can slide down certain slopes and ram things with my large purple ass. How's that for the last thing you see before death? Unfortunately, because Shake It only uses the Wiimote, Wario can't run on command like he did in the Virtual Boy game and Wario Land 4. He's plenty fast on the ground already and his jump control is smooth as butter. But running is now relegated to these handful of speed boosters. The max Fastosity Dasherators? What the fuck? The gameplay loop is similar to Wario Land 4, where once you reach the end objective, you trigger a countdown and have to make a mad dash back to the level entrance with your newly rescued Merfolk buddy. This is where the gameplay becomes much faster because the trip back is often where the game will start throwing those speed boosters and test your dexterity while trying not to eat too much shit. In some way, Wario Land Shake It tries to strike a balance between the slower, more methodical Wario Lands on the Game Boy and the speedier, more energetic thrill ride that was Wario Land 4. And I think it's good enough, but it is hampered by a couple of things, and mainly centers on the Wiimote. Well, the game's subtitle is called Shake It, and with the Wiimote's motion controls, Wario can do a couple of things, outside of aiming where you can toss whatever you got in your hand. That works fine enough, though sometimes I wish I could just use the D-pad to aim. Now, I do like that you can just pick up enemies and rattle them to expose a weak point or make them drop health pickups if you're in a bad spot, which you may have to do sometimes. Wario isn't immortal in this game. He will eat it if he takes too much damage. But that said, this game isn't difficult at all. If I had to guess, it was probably because Goodfield were still on their mindset of developing for young kids first and foremost. I think this is the easiest of the Wario Land games. The enemies rarely put up a fight, and there aren't many of them. The enemy variation in this game is pretty damn small, which I do find disappointing. A lot of them amount to these little dudes that you can bash with no problem, or use them as platforms because they got forks on their fucking heads. Well, what did you think was gonna happen, asshole? The only times I can think when shit got a little crazy is the secret levels you can unlock when you find the hidden maps. These are a little spicier and genuinely fun, but still comparatively tame to something I play from like Crash Bandicoot or even previous Wario Land games. Boss fights are also a little more intense, which I would expect. Boss fights should be a proper test of skill and knowledge, but most of these guys are not much of a problem despite their large size. A little confusing at times design-wise, like the end boss of the Rocking Range, it took me a bit to realize his weak point was his head because I assumed his head was dangerous on contact considering it was pointy. And that's generally how it works in these games. Yeah, his spiky thing, you don't fucking touch that. But that's not the case. You can hit it just fine. I guess the joke's on me. I'd argue the handful of submarine levels were also some of the more challenging obstacles, but only because, so get this, you can move back and forth on this thing with the D-pad just fine, but to tilt the ship up and down so that you can move up and down, you gotta tilt the Wiimote up or down. That just feels so arbitrary. I could think of no reason why I couldn't just use up or down on the D-pad other than It was mandated as a first-party Nintendo game on the Wii to have something like this, and it doesn't stop there. I'll tell you though, that's 2 games back-to-back that really want to make me play In the Hunt again. I'm dead fucking serious. But anyway, there's this unicycle like minecart thingy that you move by tilting the remote left or right. It's honestly not the worst thing. The stuff you're required to do on this is simple stuff to the point where I feel it really wasn't needed. Why can't I just hit left or right on the D-pad? Like, come on now. But you also need to shake the Wiimote a bunch to use these swinging poles from Donkey Kong 94. At least they're responsive enough. It's a little tiring having to do it repeatedly. But even Wario's got some new stuff to fuck around with the power of waggling. So if you jerk the Wiimote in place, let me rephrase that. If you shake the remote from a standstill, Wario can do this massive ground punch that can stun some of the larger dudes and leave them helpless, but it's mainly used to affect certain terrain and break objects in the way. It can come in handy during a few boss battles if your timing is good enough, but otherwise it's something you only really use when it's required. Wario can also grab enemies and objects and give them a good shake. You can grab money bags and shit. You can grab money bags big and small and shake the shit out of them for a bunch of coins. Just make sure you're close to a wall or boundary box when you do that because these things really go fucking flying. And they despawn after a bit of time. And in this game, you need all the coins you can get considering the prices needed to unlock the other levels later down the road. Jesus Christ, Syrup, I know you're a pirate, but cut a fat fuck a break, will you? I swear you kick her out of the castle one time and she takes it so fucking personally. I think what doesn't help is that all those optional treasures you can find in every level don't contribute to the coin count. They're merely for completionist sake and witty dialogue, and I feel this was a mistake. I think like in Wario Land 1, the treasure should have been added to your coin total. It would have incentivized looking for these things outside of completionist reasons and add a sense of exploration to make levels feel more in-depth and enriching, and so that you don't find yourself grinding coins just for the sake of unlocking the rest of the game later, which you might end up having to do. Which isn't to say I find the treasures completely worthless in this game, it's just I think they easily could have served an additional purpose other than checking a box off of a list. Ultimately, I think my biggest gripe with Wario Land Shake It is the motion stuff. Simple as it is, and most of it is very simple, you still gotta do a bunch of it, and it started to wear me down after a point. Not enough to knock the game down a couple of pegs, but a few times I found myself deliberately ignoring enemies and even some money bags because well, I just didn't feel like waggling the Wiimote. Also, sometimes I just fucking forgot that I couldn't grab money bags with my dash button and I do shit like that. If this game ever got an HD re-release, I would hope most if not all the motion stuff was replaced with regular button presses, or at least give us an alternative play mode that greatly de-emphasizes it, because sometimes I forget, I'm a grown-ass man playing a game for all ages, and I don't consider the kids that would enjoy the motion shit, and that's important to consider too. I would say my only other gripe with the game is the lack of other Wario Land things. Now, I don't really miss the transformations from 2 and 3 a whole bunch, but it does feel odd that the only 2 that make a return are Flaming Wario and Frozen Wario, and without prior Wario Land knowledge, I think you're just supposed to know these are here, which requires deliberately getting hit by certain enemies to activate, which again, in a game where you have a health bar, feels counterintuitive. I figured because this is a Wario Land trying to go back to a simpler time, they'd at least bring back some of the different hats from the first and Virtual Boy game. I think that'd be pretty dope to see Bull Wario or King Dragon Wario and all that jazz with these kind of graphics and capabilities. God, that'd be so cool. It's kind of hard to explain, but I also wish the game had a bit more attitude. The developers wanted to re-emphasize Wario's tough guy personality, emphasizing his strength and his go-get-em attitude like in Wario Land 4 and Wario World, instead of just his greed. And if you ask me, I think Wario's got some of that down. But I found it kind of disappointing that in boss fights, you can't do the Wario World thing and grab these guys and choke the fucking shit out of them, you know what I mean? You can do that with the final boss, the Shaking, and I fucking love that you can do that, but I wish the game let Wario flex his muscles a little more. Wario is a gross greedy slob, but he's a gross greedy slob that can get shit done. Still, I quite enjoyed my time with this game. When you look past the wonderful character animations and backgrounds, the game is a little been there, done that. It is a very safe, vanilla 2D platformer, let alone a Wario Land game. It doesn't ask for much, but it is nevertheless an enjoyable time. I rarely encountered a scenario that genuinely frustrated me, even with my gripes concerning the motion controls a consideration. Do I think a large part of the game is carried by its presentation? Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean that shouldn't be considered, period. God damn it, look at this game. It looks so fucking good. I love watching Wario wiggle his ass. I love the rich backgrounds. The soundtrack, oh man, admittedly it isn't as funky as I like a Wario Land game to be, but it's plenty relaxing, adventurous, and smooth as fuck. It's so varied. And I love that they incorporated Wario's victory music from Smash Brothers and made a level theme out of it. All that in mind, assuming you're not just trying to emulate it on Dolphin, you still need a Nintendo Wii to play this. At the time of this video, the game was never re-released outside of a digital release on the Wii U, which is impossible to get now if you haven't gotten it already, given that the Wii U shop closed down in 2023. No man, this game needs a proper re-release. I don't think it beats Wario Land 4 or the Virtual Boy game. I know I'm gassing up the fucking shit out of the game, I'm aware, but I really like that one. But Wario Land Shake It is a game that deserves new life with a new generation of players to bask in its easy to pick up gameplay, its wonderful handcrafted aesthetic, and snappy as fuck soundtrack. It's a keeper, as long as you don't mind jerking your Wiimote on occasion. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our first look at Wario. Well, Wario Land, to be more specifically. And I think I can say I'm a pretty big fan now. Obviously, I didn't vibe with all of them, but 5 of the games I absolutely can recommend, and that includes Wario World for the Nintendo GameCube. And even then, I can still respect Wario Land 2 and Wario Land 3 for being their own beasts that, yeah, they may not be my cup of tea, but you might just find something to enjoy in both of them. Don't play Master of Disguise. Sometime in the future, I'll be sure to look at the WarioWare games, but that is a journey for another time. As for what's next, I'm still kind of in a platformer mood admittedly, but I realize I should probably change things up a bit for at least a little. Well, first and foremost, I wanted to thank longtime viewer Armin for donating me the copy of Wario Land Shake It I used to record footage for this video. Armin, thank you very much for your love. It made recording this game a hell of a lot easier. But that's not all I wanted to thank. Of course, we've got more $10 patrons to shout out. So let's continue down the list. We're getting close to the end of this one. So shout outs to Shaden99, Shadow Goku 21, Shadow Nexa, Shepherd 6, Shiny Umbreon, Schmitty, Silence 32, Siljef, Silly Drago, Simol, Simply Chillin', Simple Habits, Sinjit Randawa, SJ the Hero, Skullmen, Small Movie World, Smash the Oni, Smiling Dread 04, Snow La La, Solar Dragon 719, Sonic DBZ Fan 4699, Sonic Fools 1234, Sonic Mania 2099, I didn't know they made that many games, Spooky Wookie, Spider Luigi, Spooky Panda, Spy the Cuttlefish, Squishy Chain 112, baby, it's a best, but spelled forward and backwards, Stardev, Stardust Chaos, Steven Nelson, Stephen Wright, Steve Hedge, Steve Roethlisberger, Storfus, Stubby, Studio Oddities, Thunderstorm, Sunkiss Waves, Super Saiyajin J, Super Dana, Super SP, Super Bro 64, Super Sonic 28, yes sir Brandon, thank you, Sync Weaver, and finally for today, Seafra Blaze Jaeger. Thank you all so much for joining me in this Wario retrospective. If you'd like to see more videos, you can click on the playlist thing here on the end screen. As always, I just appreciate your time and company. Have a good night everybody, and take care.